though coinage is being moving around, but it actually started with in Indian philosophy from Tata organization, that nano. So our objective is the new possibilities would come if we can start initiating our activities around in that line, allied with that line that talks about affordability, core functionalities, and reliability. So with that, I conclude my this session here, um, and thank you very much for your patience. Thank you, and I will
Siddhant,
wait for
thank
your
you.
question answer.
Thank you so very much for setting out that policy level and theoretical framework for entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mind for all our viewers and listeners. I think there are questions that have started to come through, and we will come back to those questions in a moment. I would now like to move to Lavi Kapoor. Welcome, Lavi, and it's a real pleasure to have you with us this evening. Myself and my family are huge fans of cookie jar confectionaries, and I'm incredibly fortunate that our office is very close to your Rawdon Street shop, and very often in our own meetings when we were in pre-COVID era, we would get during our own meetings, we would get lovely stuff from your store. So, Lavi, we will do it slightly differently with you through a series of rapid question and answers. If you could share your the start of your entrepreneurial journey with us, and what kicked this off in your mind, that from a hobby to a full-fledged enterprise that is coveted by the great and the good of India, including, I think, Sonia Gandhi and Amitabh Bachchan.
Thank you, Divanjan. Thank you for supporting us through all these years. We started the cookie jar shop in '85, and I have to admit that it just started as a little hobby and never realized it would turn into a business of this size. And I am grateful to, I think, patrons like you who've been with us throughout. It did start in a very disorganized manner. And we started with one little shop, which is half the size of the Rawdon Street shop you mentioned. And slowly, so it was a slow, conservative start with no planning, I have to admit, which a lot of people now have the facility to do the same. And in spite of all that, we've survived 35 years now. That's how where we are.
Thank you so much for that beginning. Could you tell us how setbacks or shape the entrepreneurial mind, and what happened in your case? I mean, have there been significant setbacks in your businesses that has helped you improve?
Yes, we have faced a bit of hardship throughout our journey. 10 years into running the business, we had a major setback where somebody, for their vested interest, wanted to hijack our entire team, which they did manage. They also wanted to hijack the brand name Cookie Jar. And I have to admit, we never realized the strength our brand name had until this happened to us. And when they did this is when we realized the value of our own brand and our company. We went to register it and got saved by the nick of time, which is literally half an hour before they came to register the brand name Cookie Jar, and we would have lost it then. Not just lost the brand name. What the plan of these people was that they would also call it the same and have the same products, and Cookie Jar would never, and the same address, and they would not be able to, we would never be able to come back into business. And that, of course, for us was a big shock. But having said that, that also made us work and strengthen our own selves and get our act together. And when we did come back in a more organized fashion. And then within a year of coming back, we opened 3 other stores. So that's how the setback helped us in a way.
Thank you. I think, we hear about hostile takeovers, but this is as hostile as it gets, I guess. Um,
Well,
I think the other question, I suppose, many of our viewers would have in mind, especially in the current context, is that we have been through over a year of being locked down and locked in. And
mhm,
many of us have found greater confidence or have acquired skills in cooking and baking, and have
mhm.
converted a necessity into a hobby. So, what advice would you have for them, for our viewers, in terms of their newfound interest in cooking?
Yeah. Okay. So the thing I want to tell them is that making a cake just one time is great, and your family appreciates it. But to be able to make the same thing time and again is really the challenge. So they need to think about that before they start investing in it. Also, to be able to sell your product, I think, is very important, and which of course brings us into the basic entrepreneur things like accounting, and then also investment. You need to understand all that. It's not just making one tasty thing and then being think that you can, but most people are doing it because they're able to please their family and friends. They think it's going to be turning into a successful business. I do wish them well, but I guess they need to understand that there's much more to running a business than just making it. So it's not just the product, it's obviously sustainability as well of the product and everything else that goes with it.
So, the proof of the pudding is not just in the eating, but in the planning, I guess. That's what you.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
I suppose the other question I have for you is again related to this, very challenging period that I think globally many of our businesses and countries and economies are facing, and Professor Dan referred to it in passing, the emerging economies in particular. How has the lockdown affected your business in terms of planning as well as people, and what effect that kind of reversal has on the mind, on the entrepreneur's mind?
So, the first bit about planning, yes, it has been a very hard year for all of us. And the thing when you mentioned about planning is that you cannot plan even tomorrow. I mean, even every day we're just okay. Thank God we've survived today and we're okay. And I mean that in business. I mean that in every which way. So, as far as the beginning of the lockdown, which happened last year, a lot of our staff, which were from the villages around, they left and went home. And then we luckily were in the food business, so we got the permissions to start before a lot of other businesses did. But the challenge for us was to get them back in, and which was tough. And then a lot of these skilled people we haven't been able to replace again. A lot of our experienced staff also did leave us because of the age factor and everything. So we do miss them dearly, and that's one of the challenges. And it was almost like starting afresh again. And that's one bit. And as far as expanding the business, I don't think now is the right time. We should just be conservative and survive with what we have and just exist peacefully, I think.
I think there are very interesting questions also coming through in the chat box, and we'll come back to them a little later.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about how you view, in your mind, the competition around, because I think since Cookie Jar came into existence, there's been a lot in the F&B sector, in
Mhm.
particularly in the niche that you are operating in. And I think as a foodie, I really sort of bask in the plenitude and the options. But how do you view it from your perspective?
So the first thing is that it keeps me on my toes. I can't afford to be complacent. And well, every competition you have to look at very carefully. You must know what they're doing, and try and better yourself. It keeps be ahead of everybody else, and that's how we've survived 35 years and still going on and hope to go on many years.
Do
We can't
you
ignore them.
do you sample your competition's offer?
Uh, if I feel it's worth it, or
Right. Right. Lavi, I'll just sort of end this part of our conversations with two provocative kind of questions. If
Mhm.
you wanted to respond to this part A and part B. So these are two statements, two kind of perceptions. Uh, First one is it's very difficult for women to succeed in business and entrepreneurship. How would you respond to that?
I honestly never thought of it. I mean, as a woman or a man, I didn't think there was any difference. I just believed so much in what I was doing and what I wanted to do that I just kept going along. The only setback that I think I had, disadvantage I had initially, was that I was very young when I started, and that of course nobody took me very seriously then. But as a woman, I don't think I've had any disadvantages at all. So that's
The second perception question is it's impossible to start and run a successful business in Bengal.
Well, I think you have quite a few of us here to prove it otherwise. We are essentially all in Bengal. We've worked here. Uh, it has become easier over the years. When we started, we had a lot of these labor issues to deal with and all the politics around it. And I think now that is much easier. And I think the mindset of the people working around has improved a lot, and things are getting easier. But we can still hope for much more easier ways to carry on our business.
Thank you so much, Lavi,
My
for
pleasure.
your
Thank you.
initial this interaction, burst of questions and
Thank you.
answers. And there will be more questions. I think I can see a number of very interesting questions on the chat box already. And
Okay,
Swarnali
thank you.
and the brilliant Bengal Chambers team, they are collecting those questions and going through them.
Okay.
We'll
All
come
right.
back to them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I would like to come to Siddhartha Chatterjee. Siddhartha, welcome. And it's again a great pleasure to have to be in conversation with you. And we have spoken on a number of issues before this. And I think it's a great tribute to the Renaissance personality that you are, Siddhartha. That we are here, we are on an entrepreneurship forum having a chat. Siddhartha, when we were talking earlier, you wanted to kick off with your journey as an entrepreneur and look at the mind of the entrepreneur, especially your reflections on the highs and lows and the challenges of being an entrepreneur. Over to you, Siddhartha. You are on mute, Siddhartha. If you could just unmute yourself.
First of all, thank you for the kind words, and thank you BCCI and Sister Nivedita University. I find some familiar faces having earlier interacted. Entrepreneurship, I think, they are the entrepreneurs are basically the lonely wolves in the industry. We were very lonely in 2003. There was an industry called food, restauranting, and comprising of various kinds of restaurants. And when we had the idea of starting Bengali cuisine restaurant, we were absolutely lonely wolves. There's a concept called that entrepreneurs can take a lot of risk. As entrepreneurs, we could not take risks because we didn't have money to take risks. So that defied the logic of being an entrepreneur. What we had possibly is an idea, not well researched, and whether it will play it out, we were not too sure about it. We knew that we are manufacturing food for common people. That's all about it. And since we didn't have money, so we didn't have the things required to start a business. There was just an idea and maybe quite a bit of passion. The mind worked and we continue to do the plannings. As Lavi said, that the initial stage, even the accountancy becomes important, apart from making cakes and pastries. So we learned all that, and still we are learning. But there was an element of confidence somewhere. I don't know why. That yes, to a Bengali, a bhat and machir jhol will work because they know that stuff. It's not alien to them. And then we thought that if you try to understand the demographic profiling of the new couple, the husband working in a techie firm, the wife is a banker, both are, at the end of the day, everyone is a food lover in this way or that way. So, how do they eat? When do they have the time to make the food for themselves? So, we harped upon that particular point at that point of time, and it worked. So, not that if you really define, and we were actually swimming along the banks. We never wanted to go into the middle of the river, which of course we have gone now. Now, swimming along the bank is not a good idea for an entrepreneur. That means you are not trying to take the risk. But it's a myth that you need a lot of capital. For example, in 1971, Shanaz Hussain, the beauty queen, and she was just married at the age of 15, 16. But beauty matters really was after her passion. And, just imagine what kind of desi organic beauty products she could develop at the time. And I'm sure she didn't have money in excess of 30,000 rupees those days to develop. So it's not that a lot of money is required. Of course, if you want to go for a heavy industry like, then there's a different story altogether. But when it comes to consumer-centric business ideas, mass consumer or niche consumer, you have to have a good idea. That's what all about. That's my experience with Bhajori Manna. And to extend that into another venture called Machli Baba Fries, I actually took a leaf out of Shami Vivekananda. He had, in the book written by Shankar, he said to his Chala Chamundas, যে দেখবি একদিন কলকাতার রাস্তার মোড়ে মোড়ে চপ কাটলেটের দোকান হবে. So he could foresee that at one point of time, at all the nooks and corners of Calcutta, there will be a shop which will be selling this. And I actually thought that this was a very serious statement. And I started Machli Baba Fries. And thanks for all of you. You people are actually gulping down the fries manufactured by them. But I am essentially, in my own profession, also an educationist. Thereby, at some point of time, thanks to this pandemic situation last year, I've been for many years teaching students in a classroom environment. The problem always was the scalability of that. And scalability, if it's not there in a particular situation, you can't manage or you can't introduce a larger dimension. India lacks on scalability to a large extent. Of course, these days the corporates have scaled it up quite high, but then generally, like let's say for an example of scalability, I still use a product called Borolene, manufactured by GD Pharmaceuticals. It's a very old company. They never changed. Of late, because of the new young minds which has come into that company, you have XYZ products and Borolene 75 years back advertisement. And Borolene advertisement today is a different kettle of fish, but the product has remained like this. The green color has not changed. That's the beauty of a product that people swear by borrowly. Not that others have not come in. So, but the scalability has been a question. So this education scalability today has to be through digital efforts. And if you call it startup, fair enough. But earlier, the number of students I used to teach physically over years, I think I have taught 10x students in a span of 6 months through the digital. So it's very lovely to see the adoption of digital, including the fact that we are have adopted a Zoom conference over here, and we are doing it quite pretty smoothly. I think 1 year back I wouldn't have been able to really log in and switch in and things like that. Now it has become so easy. So yes, the challenges are there. Challenges come from, like, Lavi had a trademark challenge. And I absolutely agree that this is a huge challenge. Lavi, I must tell you that we have a trademark registered 15 years back. Now, there are similar sounding names like Bhajori Manna inside Kolkata, operating and doing pretty good business. I sometimes feel like going and catching hold of that guy and say, okay, hey, what the hell is this? You change the name and you sell your products, but don't use this name. Deceptively similar names, which is a anti-trademark law. But then, fair enough. Then I thought, why do all that? People will seek for the original and come to the original, and we will still be able to carry on with the brand. Now, having said so, the secret of the change is not to look at the old things, but to look at the new things. I mean, that's part of a entrepreneurial mind. And whoever does not allow that to happen, he will be, or she will be, or that organization will be left behind. To sum up is like this, that ideas goes on coming. Some are doable, some are not doable. But if you have an idea, pursue it. Somewhere you will be able to readjust whatever your idea was, and then it can become a major success. Look at Ray, Satyajit Ray. When he had an idea that he would make a film on the village Bengal, and he had a story to tell through Pather Pachadi, and he went into making a film without coming from the film schools, without have never done a film before, and that entrepreneurial mind worked across throughout his career in various forms and features. And we still cherish that for a reason that they were original ideas. They were ideas with passion. They were ideas which has value over the time. And if 1955 we had a Pather Pachali, I don't think in 2021 much of that scenario has changed in the rural India. It still remains to look like the same, except some here and there things have happened. That is a force where entrepreneurs' mind can deliver and continue to deliver. I wish I would be, and we would be able to deliver in continuity from here onwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chatterjee, for that wonderful insight into the entrepreneur's mind from your perspective. I was really fascinated by the anecdote you shared about that Moni Shankarda writes about in his book on Vivekananda and food, about his remarks. Because as we know, there was a very famous encounter, conversation between Jamshedji Tata and Swami Vivekananda on board the ship Empress of India, as they were traveling between Vancouver and Yokohama on their way to Chicago. Both of them were destined for greatness in Chicago. And that is where, I mean, purportedly they discussed the beginnings of the Tata Steel company. So a lot of things are similar. The scale might differ, but I think these are very, very interesting. And I'm really fascinated that, that you ended with the Pather Pachali story. And it is my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Chandrasekhar Ghosh of Bandhan Bank, and an entrepreneur par excellence, an icon of Bengali entrepreneurship. But I think the story about Pather Panchali also resonates more widely for the kind of work that Chandrasekhar Ghosh has done in taking microfinance to the grassroots of not only Bengal but across India. So welcome, Mr. Ghosh, and it's a real pleasure to have you with us in this conversation of Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Sister Nivedita University on the entrepreneurial mind. Sir, I think you're still on mute. If you could unmute yourself, that will be great. So we had a conversation yesterday, and based on that, I have, again, just like the chat I had with Lavi Kapoor just now, a series of questions for you, sir. So I wanted to start off with the two E's that has shaped your life. How is an entrepreneur's life different from that of an employee? If we could start off with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddhartha. After a long time, I saw you in the Namaskar. And, and thank you, Devanjanda, and all the audience, the people. This is a very good point. Always we are trying to talk on that. It is needed to on that. The question is there, the very good difference on that. The very good things is there if any of the employee, they are getting the monthly salary. But if I go to this, the entrepreneur, they will get the daily salary. So if we go to this, the employee, they have the 60 years retirement. And entrepreneurs, there is no retirement. Employee, when they are retired after 60 years, they are not able to give the job to their children to the same organization. But entrepreneur can give on that as a successor. So lots of the difference between entrepreneur and the employee. And the final one, what I feel, I'm not maybe the feel on that time in the beginning. Entrepreneur is a feel proud because he created lots of job. When I talk with the people immediately coming and touch my leg. I have been changed my life in the level of 0 to in this position with you. That I got it on that. I'm not sure about it that as an employee I can got that much on that. So this is a very big difference, a very big power has given on that and insisted on that. So I feel that the entrepreneurship is a different feelings, different contribution to the society and the country, and enjoy the more on that without retirement.
Thank you, sir. The other question that we discussed is the role of two I's in the entrepreneur's life. Initiative, i.e. hard work, and innovation. So from your perspective, sir, what does initiative and innovation play in the in building an entrepreneurial mind and habit?
So I believed on that. Common sense is not really common. We like to learn from the common sense and start it on that. And it is, I seen that it is a very highly accepted by the maximum of the people on that. So that everything learning from the common sense, that is better And it is also sometimes have been make it as a innovative on that. So innovativeness and the traditional, I feel that it can be go together. Otherwise, it cannot be survived. If I make something as a innovative fully, so it will take some time on that to accept the people or consumer or customer. So that my hardness will be like to come more. But if I take some of the tradition and some of this, the innovation, that will be like to better. If I give the example on that one thing, the microcredit is not in a innovation. Microcredit is a traditional. It was started in Rabindranath Tagore. And now it is the innovation to deliver this process. The people have need the money. And people are dependent on that, the other people who are private money lenders and paying very high interest rate. How innovatively I can reach those people and give the better service and comparatively low interest. This is called innovative. But the service is a traditional. So if someone is coming now with the digital, that also like to traditional is a lending and digital is in process and system, so that it will be like to innovative. How every innovative, the two things I learned on that, how quick we can be reached to the people, and with the common sense, we can understand easily the people demand. Accordingly, we are simplify the product and services. People best will like on that simplified the product and services. If more complex, people will be like to far away from that. So these are the two things in there. So it will become to going together, traditional and the innovative. Of course, innovative will be like to more entrepreneurship developed on that.
Sir, the other question I had for you, your own difficult and complex entrepreneurial journey has been very well documented in a book published by Penguin Random House. There is a saying that, বাঙালির দ্বারা ব্যবসা হয় না। এই ধারণাটা সত্যি না ভুল? What's your take on the business culture of Bengal?
If we go to the history, India first business entity, it has been born in Calcutta.
You'll be happy to know that what we started off with.
East India Company.
Oh no.
If it's come to this, the bank is a State Bank of India. So we cannot say that the no. But I'll give this just the couple of days ago, I have received one email. And the boy gentleman have been written to me. I completed my education. And I have the parents and the father and my mother. I have been tried 8 years to get the government job. I failed to get it on that. Now my parents are so old, they cannot be like to itself, they cannot be like to do anything. I must be spend some time with my parents. Can you give me one job now? You see that the golden period of the people after the complete of education life, 7-8 years only try to government job. That time they are not a choice to bank or not MFI, not on that. That is the main mistake of the people. And this is the some responsibilities of our parents. They also not pushing them to give. This is a mindset. I'll be like to get a government job. I will not like to do it. If the person have been started with any job in their life, if you say that on my side, I have been started my job before result out. And when I started this bandhan, that is also very different on that. So in that sense, I say that the mind will be like to change. If I not get the job, this person is written me another job, but not say that how I can be start a business or enterprise. No one asking on that. Only job. And this is in our
It's a real,
state especially, it's a very really it is very sad.
very
So we'll
sad.
be like to change the mind on that.
Sir,
Yeah.
a follow-up question on that is, can entrepreneurship be taught, and why do we see across India and globally certain communities taking the lead on entrepreneurship, and there's a almost a cultural thing around
No,
entrepreneurship and certain
cult-
communities?
cultural is there. That is an, if you see that the historically, another side also, Bengal, people who have worked under British. So that cultural mind, clerk as a different of the position, that we like it. And other states of the country have been not get these opportunities. We got more opportunities of this, get the job. So that may be the one side. I'm not the sure about it on that. And my second point on that, the if you see that the why it is coming, another is a common sense way. If you like to see that, if I have a daughter and I got the option to give the marriage of my daughter, I first choice is an service holder, not the businessman. This is culturally built on that. No. So it's a culturally always given that opportunities. That is a first choice is in job. And not as a, if you say the complete the education, first search as a job. They are sitting in the placement table. And no, the student have been denied. No, I will be not like to sit as a placement table. I'll be like to start my own enterprise because they are more young. 2-3 years, they can easily spend their time to start anything on that. Yes, of course, if they are not, everyone also is success. If they're not success, they will love to go. Because sometimes many of the people first join in one organization and is not a success, and they are going to another organization. Or sometimes they are returned back to the further business or parent business, but not the beginning of that. So it is, they feel that the service as an employee as a status, but not in a servant. It is a different word on that. So I feel that will be like to culturally developed and insist by the parents, community, society. The business is a more enterprises starting on that more.
So you got muted.
Sir, I think you have accidentally muted yourself, Mr. Ghosh.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I think if I can sort of move the conversation along, as an entrepreneur, I mean, what makes you sort of sleep well and happy at the end of the day, and what keeps you awake and anxious at night?
No, it's an depend on many things on that. It's not in a one single thing on that. You say that the long back when I went one day in the after complete my head office, I started to go to visit my branch, and my branch people are living in the office because of the residence facilities available in there. So I like to meet more lot of people on that. So when I go to this from Calcutta to Bonga, And every of the branches we have been I have spent one day, half an hour, 45 minutes or 1 hour to meet them. And when I coming back from the Bonga, I find out on the big queue on the road. And all the lorry on side on that, and no chance on that they will be like to give the chance to me to come to my home. When I go in there, I am very happy. When I returning back and I saw that, I'm very much upset about it, how I can be reached to the home. That made me like to little bit unhappy. And I have been taken another road, is in from Bonga to Chagda, and this way I have been reached to my home as a 3 a.m. And I have been very happy after 3 a.m. when I saw my wife is waiting in the corridor for me without taking food. So that is everything have been changed. The happiness has come, whatever the pain, all pain have been resolved on that. So this is in one side on that, because whatever the work I have been done and build up on that isn't painful, no doubt on that. The many times on that, because one day I have been went to the is a Bagnan in the first time, in that time, very beginning time on that. I went to the village with my 2 colleagues with me, and people get out us. And they are trying to beat us on that. And lots of things they have been shouted, and they feel it that we are a cheat fund. Because the people are not believe it, that I can give the money to them. They say that you are cheating and then taking the money and you will be leave the village and area. So that time that was a very painful on that because of the staff. So these are the operational things on that. This is a pain point on that. But if you success point on that, if you see, when I got the bank license, this is the best moment of the life, along with my full team member on that. So that is a 6:15 p.m., 2nd April. I cannot forget about it. Even not my comparatively, my son born, not comparable. My married, not comparable. Whatever I got that day isn't fantastic. Have been happiness has come on that. If I come to today position, is a more or less is a very systematic run on that. This is not very much pain, not very much happiness, but it's a normal on that. This is because of the bank, very systematically run, and many people have been developed in the organization, and those are backup of me, and they are running on that. That is good on that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ghosh, for sharing those insights into an entrepreneur's mind and the stresses and the strains, as well as the the pleasures.
When you believed on that, if you like to make start as an enterprise, you first accept on that, I'll face the challenge. And if I not like to face the challenge, I can be like to avoid, I'll be not success on that.
Right.
Enterprise is successful is not come very easily. No, it's in I given on that the dialogue on that. That is my point. That called the PhD. P means very passion. You can be like to passion. Don't hurry about it. Immediately success. Hard work, H, and D, dedication. Work from the heart along with the team. Then called the PhD. Passion, hard work, and dedication.
That is truly inspiring, sir, to end your opening kind of statements. We have a huge number of questions coming through, and Swarnali has been flipping those questions forward onto me. So if I could start off with a question for Ms. Lavi Kapoor. This is from Prithish Roy Chaudhary, who has a question for you,
Mm,
Lavi, about could you
mhm.
guide me, ma'am, about how to manage my time? I find it very difficult to organize my time despite with my busy schedule of studies, exam preparations, and then how do I invest in my passion to become someone like you?
Well, I think you have to definitely give your studies the first priority, because in anything that you want to do later in life, the studies are going to help you, come what may. And you have to figure your priorities. And I'm sure there's enough time later in life to follow your passion and then turn it into a business. It's taken me many, many years, and I'm still working at it and keep studying still about my subject.
Thank you so much, Lavi. The next question is from one of the committee members. This I'd like to put to Professor Dan. Um, uh, so this is about. Can you share what initiatives the government has to help startups? Others can also pitch in, but I'm putting this question initially to Professor Dan.
Uh, this is a very, I would say, wide question, in the sense that there are too many fronts where government are doing something or have already initiated certain uh, processes and offerings. They just too many. I mean, I will give an example. Um, uh, Lots of things are happening. Say, for example, uh, I hope you all have heard the MedTech Park following the COVID intervention here. The COVID um, situation developed in March, and I think that it came after a couple of months. There, the MedTech parks, four MedTech parks all across the country are being started, and many more are being, requested by several state governments to be brought up in those states. And those will be certain centers where the innovative product development will be facilitated. This will be not only the incubation center, that would be a kind of an ecosystem by itself for medtech products. In fact, I did have that exact figure of how much India imports in medtech. I mean, this. I mean, just now I don't remember that, but one thing I can tell you that that is a huge value, and if India can put its talent, the educated students there, the people who are going for higher studies, these people who have talent, as well as several speakers, if I bring many positive points from all of their said, and like Mr. Ghosh very nicely brought out an acronym with PhD, all those things. I mean, so if we see, um, Mr. Chatterjee also there, pointed out quite a few things how the entrepreneurs can, do, etc. So if I put all these, so what we see that these people have talents. Only thing possibly which is lacking very much is how to channelize. Now, one thing I would like to tell you that there are two things. One is that, are you funding? Is the simple question. Are you funding? But that is not of much of a meaning, because I fully agree with Mr. Chatterjee, another entrepreneur, just spoke a little while ago. Last time when we spoke together, also the same thing emerged. I remember that we need huge capital is truly a myth. It is really not needed. What is needed truly is a good idea as well as its execution. These two are the major pillars. Now, Government is trying to create that environment. One is that through several policies, strategies, NEPs, NISPs, and lots of other such things. And two, by creating such medtech parks and also making certain policies there in the MSME thing. For example, who thought several years back that for R&D, money will be pumped in or they will be getting certain tax advantages from this innovation and research based activities, which rarely would be found. So there are these young talents, they can very well, as I said in my initial slides, if you have noted, they can start as entrepreneur. Later on, if they feel that okay, they have enough muscle and passion and uh, real resources, they can venture out to create their own outfit, not a problem. Anyhow, the wealth is being created, that is most important. Being an entrepreneur or entrepreneur doesn't matter at all, as long as wealth is being created for the nation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that response. The next question I'd like to put to Siddhartha Chatterjee. This stems off from something that Mr. Ghosh shared a little while earlier. So this is about if someone wants to be an entrepreneur, usually the family doesn't support. They want us to get them jobs. What is your message to parents? Mr. Chatterjee,
Yes.
I wanted you to respond to that. I think Chandrasekhar has already responded to that in his message, but I think this question is your take on that parental objection to entrepreneurship question.
Well, this happened with me also, or rather, it happened to me also.
Everyone.
So somewhere when I wanted to leave the job and start something, my father said, "Start what?" I said, "I don't know." "Then you're leaving the job." I said, "Yeah, let me first leave the job and think about how to start what." As Mr. Ghosh had, it's a mindset once again of the parents. Right from school days, if the objective is how your son will get bigger marks in the examinations, how they will be sitting for the joint entrance and become an engineer, if that is the attitude, and is if you do so, you are well appreciated in your society. And for me, the same thing happened because my father was a chartered accountant. I was somehow told that you first become a chartered accountant, then we can think about a lot of things. To the extent my mother told Satyajit Ray, that because of you, because of this film and you, the only thing which is going to happen is that my son will not become a chartered accountant. So Satyajit Ray took a challenge on him. He said, "I think he's quite an intelligent chap, and I'll see to it that he becomes a chartered accountant if that satisfies you. But have you ever thought that if your son is not a chartered accountant and is something else, you would not be happy?" Mother could not answer that. Obviously, to answer a intelligent person of like Satyajit Ray style was impossible. But it was a challenge given to Satyajit Ray. It is because of you that I will not become a chartered accountant. And then when I became a chartered accountant, the only thing I realized in my first job that I don't know anything about accountancy, but I have the degree with me. And then what happened? The entire understanding of balance sheet and financial figures was taught to me by a person in Kolkata, unofficially, personally, who have never finished his school. So that is what the knowledge and adoption of knowledge is all about. And
Right.
now that we are in the forum and we were talking about capital for entrepreneurship, I'm curious to ask Chandrasekhar Ghosh, yes, sir, what was the capital you had to start Bandhan Bank?
This is a very interesting question because we have a very similar question from Nilesh Mukherjee, who is watching, about service industry needing money. How do we generate the same as banks need collateral? So, Mr. Ghosh, if you could combine Siddharthoda's question and also Nilesh Mukherjee's question and give us a response.
No, two things in there. The first, I have been given my one of the friend who is an best financial market based big organization as a financial institution MD and foreign organization. And I asked him, he's in best in that the IIT and he's the best in the IIM. I asked him that why you are studied in IIT and you are build up your career in a now he's an entrepreneur and a financial market. And he said that the IIT is my parents' wish. I completed and I got the job. And then my wishness, I have been completed IIM Ahmedabad. So that is a very clear. The parents always like on that. My children will be the first choice is the doctor or engineer. That are common. No one have been hoped on that my children will become as an entrepreneur. This is the one point. Second point, you are asking this the next question. Money is not the factor for entrepreneurs. Before that, I have been coming on that. After the complete the education life to the entrepreneurs, this is a one challenge we are all taught. But I completed my job. And then I left the job, which is NGO job, and started the enterprise. And when that day I have been explained to my wife whole night cried. And she cried and requested me withdraw this resignation letter. And even not in the next day morning, my brother-in-law called, are you mad? You have been left the job, isn't fixed income. You are going to uncertain income. So this is a scenario which is not in the beginning, even any time on that. And that is in our society, that is our people always mind as a fixed income from day one, small amount. That time my salary was a 5,000 rupees. No, if I not left, I maybe not come to this position on that. Second point on that time how much I have the money. I have not the money on that because NGO work, how much money? And totally, you know that there is a 2 lakhs. I received some money from my sister, from my mother, from my side, all together has come to the 2 lakhs. And within 3 months, finish the money. And no people are giving the money to me because all people, all my friends and relatives are far away from me, and they feel that he has need the money. He immediately asks the money from us. Don't go to nearby to him. This is a situation of the time. No bank. You can leave the bank. Bank are not coming on that. Why I'll be like to give the money? You are the new person, new balance sheet. You are not known any people, so I cannot give the money to you. And when I have been the intention, I like to prove my idea. Then I went to money lenders. And I took the money from the money lenders, 7.5% per month. I given to the money lenders. And you believed on that. This money lender is my relative. And he given this money through the other people, not directly to me. And I paid him. Only the point on that I like to prove in the eyes of the banker. And then bank will come to me. And then bank has come on that. So money is once upon a time, and this is a very big challenge to get the money. But if any entrepreneur will stop that, so they will not come to the success. They will try on that how they can do it on that. And it will be possible, it can be get. And the best relative is a father-in-law house. And they also give some time on that. And they also given to me sometimes on that. So this is not in a, it's a normal nature on that. So this is not, but when the successes come first I have been received the loan from SIDBI, is an 18 months taken time. When the SIDBI is given and my success have been seen, automatically all others bank has come to the queue to give in the money on that. So proof to the success, money is not any problem on that. But yes, first time is a very big challenge to arrange the money.
Thank you, sir. There are two questions, one from Ms. Rupkota Sharkar, the other from Ms. Suman Sood, both for Lavi. One is, what are the fears an entrepreneur should overcome? That's from Ms. Rupkota Sharkar. And the second question from Suman Sood is the importance of value education in children, and can you recount one inspiring incident from your school or college days that has helped you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Okay. The first question, the answer to that is that an entrepreneur should not be scared of failure. I think they should be prepared to fail anytime and never give up. Keep trying, and you have to believe in yourself and your passion for like what you want to do and achieve. And if that's how you keep going, keep at it. It's not going to be easy all along. It's not going to be like eating dessert all your life. You have to have some bitter pill sometime too, but you have to keep going. Yeah. And about the other one from school, yeah, well, I had a very strict education in a convent school, and that made you very disciplined. And they've taught you, another thing they taught you is to live and be with people. And they taught you a lot of skills as well as, and I think cooking was one of those which we learned then. And I think that's helped me all along. And the creativity of, what you wanted to do, they helped you achieve that. And that has been great. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. We are coming to the end of our wonderful session. I will end this with one question which Mohammad Hussain has for Mr. Siddhartha Chatterjee, which is, being an entrepreneur, what motivates one the most, and how do you generate ideas?
On generating ideas, first I will take that. You start thinking every day some idea. Then it will look stupid, sound stupid, and go on thinking every day. One day some idea will come. And that's where how Bhajari Manna started. We never had any idea about food, cooking, how to sell, nothing we had. But we knew that we love to eat food, and I suppose everyone. So that idea went on getting developed. And I personally whenever I have an idea, I write it down somewhere and then think about it and then think this is not doable. And then I tell you, out of this idea, I used to always wonder this plight of the rickshaw pullers in Kolkata. So I used to think that how can we mechanize this? Just an idea at a very young age. Nothing had developed of that. Today, that's a reality. I mean, you have the Totos and other kind of rickshaws, which are, energy driven stuff. So go on thinking about some idea. And and idea need not be out of the box. Idea need not be something wonderful all of a sudden. No, it doesn't come like that. If you stitch some ideas, that could be a fantastic idea. So stitching ideas of various forms is also important. Like, say, for example, the young minds, the young people and students, you could think about educational ideas. That is something which you go through. You would like to have the education done in a different way. And then you can possibly develop a product. Now, if you see the Baijus of the world, what is it? It's a class 1, 2, 3, 4 young kids institutes in the digital platform, because the young boys and girls, they know how to use their mobile, which I still don't know how to use it well. My granddaughter knows how to use it better at the age of 6. So you could possibly think that education is something which is a must. It's a juice of life. It is the most important input of life. If you are not educated, I can tell you what will happen. But if you are educated, I can tell you something is going to happen. So education is must. Now you can have innovative ideas about education. Like I run a food business without chefs. I run a food business by people who are even not school passed. I run a food business where they do not know portioning of inputs. What they know, as I call it, it's a rustic wisdom. That is, these kind of knowledge is developed in a very rustic way, and they are the perfect knowledge. Now, one could possibly do a transformation of this knowledge into a actionable food academy, which I have in my mind as one of the ideas in future. So ideas will come every time. Ideas will come. If nothing else, just you people have the camera within the phone. Make a 20 minutes short film, shoot it, and upload it in the YouTube. You never know. You are the film director in the making.
Well said, sir. As someone who has a very popular YouTube channel, I think that's a great advice. I would like to quickly come back to my panel for literally one or two sentences as your parting kind of wisdom for everyone who has tuned into the show. So starting with Professor Dan, if I could go in the same order in which we started speaking. Professor Dan, if you could just tell us in a sentence or two, what is your parting shot?
Devanjan sir, Professor Dan had just left because he was in another meeting.
Right.
Sorry.
So can I come to you, Lavi, for your quick comment on a tip for our listeners and viewers?
I think to be an entrepreneur, you have to really believe in what you want to do. And you have to be passionate, as Mr. Ghosh said, and keep at it. And you can never sit back and say, okay, now I've done it and I've achieved it. You have to keep going. So all the best to everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Lavi. If I could come to Mr. Chatterjee, what is your tuppence worth on entrepreneurship and the journey ahead?
The young people over here would have loved to have a bike, two-wheeler. He's taking a risk. The other young people, they might be connecting a relationship. That could be a risk. If someone is crossing the railway line, he's taking a risk. The fact that you're walking is itself a risk. Everything is risk. So if you are being able to take these risks unknowingly, why don't you take a risk to do something, to be an entrepreneur, and then you will forget the word called risk.
I think that really resonates with me personally, because I keep telling my colleagues that, a ship is very safe in its harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. Ships are meant to sail in stormy seas. Mr. Ghosh, if I could come to you for one parting shot for our viewers before I sum it up and say thanks.
India is a big country and 130 crores population. My suggestion for the next generation, spend 1 month work in the rural India and try to understand middle class family and low income people, what they are demand. They can be learned lots of idea from them and return back and start with a small, with simplify the process. And my next point on that, the fear, challenge, everything will overcome if I have the confidence. Must be success on that. And the any challenge, it will be not continue in the whole life. So challenge is my life. I find out on that. Face the challenge automatically overcome, and success will come on that. Make the confidence on yourself on that. Thank you. India is a big country.
Thank you, sir. I think that is, again, a very, very insightful thing to share, because I have noticed that behind you is the picture of Swami Vivekananda, and having gone to Ramakrishna Mission, Narendra and Purulia, I think his padayatras across India really opened his mind to the reality that is India, the complexity that is India. And this is something I keep telling my colleagues, especially colleagues who come in from abroad, senior leadership positions, that, I mean, India is a complex country like no other country you have seen. I mean, its complexity is comparable to the European Union. It's not a nation state in the traditional sense of the term. And I think I've been very fortunate to have worked a little bit with Professor Anil Gupta of IIM Ahmedabad, who also has his very innovative kind of introduction to his students. He takes his students on Shodhyatras and Padyatras in rural India. So that's really, really inspirational. I wanted to wrap up the session by saying, putting in a formal vote of thanks to Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's the oldest chamber of commerce and industry in India, with a very long legacy and historical roots in the business and entrepreneurship culture, not just for Bengal, but for all of India. And the Education Committee of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry in particular, which is led by Shottam Roy Chaudhary, who is unable to join us this evening, and also to Sister Nivedita University, the university he leads on, and all his colleagues there, Mrs. Sina Bose, thank you very much for your support. And to the Bengal Chamber team, Swarnali, you and your colleagues, Smarajit, you have been absolutely wonderful in supporting this. So thank you very, very much. And last but not the least, to all the panelists, I mean, Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Chatterjee, Lavi Kapoor, Professor Dan. It was really a pleasure and a privilege to have you in conversation with us. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in on a Monday evening to listen in. And I hope this has been as useful. And I've learned a lot from this hour and a bit that we have been in conversation. And I hope you have done too. So thank you very much, and good night, and have a great week ahead, and stay safe. These are very difficult times we are going through. So please do take care, and stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.